Hello everyone, it's Matt Davis here with another video. The goal of this video is to help you prepare for the Chapter 1 collaborative and then also to show you what the full Chapter 1 work cycle looks like, because that cycle is going to be repeated over and over again as we go through more chapters during the semester. As part of this demonstration, I'm going to be showing you how to do things in My Math Lab. If you have not set up My Math Lab yet, then you should go ahead and stop this video, go back and watch the video on getting started. That shows you how to set up My Math Lab, and remember there is a free option there for a 2-week free trial. So even if you're not ready to pay for My Math Lab yet, you should still go back to this video, watch the Getting Started piece, set up My Math Lab with that free trial account, and then come back here and watch this one. Alright, let's start looking at the Chapter 1 cycle, which will be again repeated for future chapters. That will usually begin with an announcement sent from me at the beginning of the cycle, where I tell you what work needs to be done during that cycle and also suggest a schedule for getting that work done. That announcement will be put in Canvas at the beginning of the semester, and then I'll transition those announcements over to My Math Lab as the semester progresses. Make sure you have an email set up with those that is one that you check, and make sure in Canvas you have your settings such that you get notified when new announcements are made. Alright, the first part of the cycle is to take notes on the material, and for that you'll want to print the Chapter 1 notes packet. So if you scroll down just a little bit here on the Math 53 page, there's this notes packet link. If you click that, you're going to go into a folder that has all the different PDFs for the different chapters. I've already opened up the Chapter 1 packet, and your job would be to print that and fill it in. So if you go up here, there's usually a print icon. Don't use that one. I just showed it to you, but now I'm saying don't use that one. And the reason why is graphs and equations often will not print well from your browser. So if you want to make sure you get a good copy of the notes, download this PDF instead, and then open it up and print it from a PDF viewer. So if you're on a Mac, download it, open it in preview, and then print it. If you're on a Windows machine, download it and then open it in something like Adobe Acrobat Reader or something along those lines that can be used to view and print PDFs. If you do it that way, you'll get better graphs, you'll get better equations, you'll have less confusing notes. So that applies to all the things that I ask you to print during this semester. You should download them and print them first to make sure you're getting good copies. Alright, so now how do you fill this in? Well, I'm going to be your guide on that. So I've made a video where I'm filling this notes packet in much as I would if we were in person and in class. So if you go to the Math 53 page and you scroll down just a little further below note packets, there's a lecture videos link. If you click that, that'll take you to this page that has our lecture videos for the entire semester set up. There's also times, so you can kind of budget your time a little bit as you go into the Chapter 1 collaborative. If you add all these up, because we need to watch all 4 of these before the Chapter 1 collaborative, you'll see you need to budget an hour and 45 minutes for taking notes on the material. Now, as far as completing those notes goes, you just need to go ahead and click on the Section 1.1 video. That'll take you over to YouTube, where you'll see a video of me with this notes packet, filling it in, talking, explaining as I go through, and so you'll watch that video and you'll fill that in as you go along. And if you get done with that and it seems like it all totally made sense to you, then I would encourage you just to keep on moving and bounce over to the next video. 1-2, fill that in. 1-3, fill that in. 1-4, fill that in. If at any point you're working on one of those though and it feels like it didn't quite make sense to you and you need a little more practice, or you need something to help you get that material down a little bit better, then one way to get that practice is to pause on the video and work on a little bit of homework. So the way that homework would work, let's say you did Section 1.1 and you felt okay about it, but you felt like you should practice it a little bit before you started trying to learn 1.2. Then if you go into My Math Lab, this is kind of the intro or the home page. You'll want to click on either homework or quizzes and tests. It doesn't matter too much which one you click on, because after that loads, what I would like you to do is click right here and switch it to show all assignments so you can see things in order. Just a quick mention here, there's this first homework 0 is just like an orientation to My Math Lab by My Math Lab. So that one's optional. If you've never used MyMathLab before, I would suggest doing it, but it's not something that's required. Now, as far as getting that practice, let's jump in and see how that would work. So let's open up homework 1. When you get in there, you'll see there's actually links to the videos there, so that's another way that you can access them. And I would suggest, if you feel like you just need a little bit of work, do the odds, 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on, to get about 50% of the homework done. And if you feel that's enough, that's fine. Homework is not technically required for this class. It's here to help you, and sometimes it doesn't count for part of your grade, but it can sometimes be required to take a quiz a second time, or if you're taking a quiz late. So it's kind of semi-required, I guess, is the truth on that. But it's possible to do none if you don't need it, and we'll kind of keep talking about that as we go through. So let me jump in and show you what homework looks like a little bit by clicking on question 3. So I've already completed this question, so it should show up as done. So I'm going to click similar question just so we get a fresh version of it. And the goal here isn't really to teach you how to do this question, but show you a little bit about MyMathLab. So first of all, if we look up here, it says question 3 is 1.1.9. What that means is, if you were to look in the book in section 1.1, this would be similar to problem 9 in the homework from the textbook. And it's not that you need to look there, but it's good to know where the problem's from, because if you get stuck on it and you wanted help from your notes, you would know to look at section 1.1. So keep that in mind when you do problems. You can always tell what section it's in by looking up there. If you're ever trying to do a problem and you don't know how, I think the first thing should be to get your notes out and look in the section that it came from. If you can't find a good example there, there's links down here to either pull up examples from the textbook, or Help Me Solve This will walk you through the actual problem step by step and explain to you what you should do. One bit of bad news on Help Me Solve This: it is a good tool for getting you unstuck and talking you through the problem, but it won't give you credit for the problem if you use it. So if you use Help Me Solve This, when you're done, you have to click similar question and then do another one to get credit for it that way. Let's go ahead and do this problem just to see a little bit about MyMathLab though. Let t be the number of years since 1981. What does t equals 15 mean? So t equals 15 means it's been 15 years since 1981. If I wanted to know when that was, I would take 1981 and add 15 years to it. 1981 plus 15, I believe that's 1996. Let's say I made a typo on that and typed 1997, and then I click check answer. It's going to tell me that I'm wrong, give me some sort of hint of some kind. And you'd think, okay, so I messed that up, but it actually gives you 3 tries. And as long as you get it right before the 3rd try is over, you'll get full credit for it. And in fact, even if you miss it 3 times, you can hit similar question and get a new one. As long as you eventually get it right, you'll get full credit. When you're done with one, you could click next question, but if your real goal is to do every other one because you don't feel like you need all the homework, you can just scroll down here and skip over question 4, or you could hit next question and then just arrow over to the next one. How do you know when you're done with 1.1 and need to switch over and start watching video for 1.2? Well, you keep an eye on these guys right here. And it turns out for this particular homework assignment, when you get to problem number 18, it'll switch to section 1.2 up here. When that happens, you should also consider yourself done for now and go back and watch the video for 1.2. There is a save button here. It turns out that button's not truly necessary. It saves all the time. So it is kind of an exit button though. So when you're done, you could hit save here. It's going to warn me because I didn't finish the question I'm on, and I'll just say yes. So there's a quick look at what homework's like in MyMathLab, but we still want to keep on that preparation cycle, so let me kind of show you the next step in that. Alright, so you finished 1.1 video, and you've tried some homework. Now you're ready for 1.2. Just go back to the video link, click that, keep filling in those notes packet. You know, as you scroll through here, 1.2 is here too, so they're not separate packets. All of the whole chapter is there, and you can just scroll through and get the job done. When you finally get done with all the videos, then it's time to give the quiz a try. So when it's time to give the quiz a try, it's time to go back to MyMathLab. So I'm still kind of at the end of that homework, so I would just click now on quizzes and tests because I want to take a quiz. But again, it's always going to show you either homework or quizzes, and I think it's better if you see both at once, so I would change the tab to show all assignments. If you click on show all assignments, it shows things in the order that you should do them in. So it's kind of confusing when they split off homework and quizzes. I like to see them together. One of the first things I want to say to you about quizzes is don't be afraid to try one once you're done with the video and you've filled in the notes. Even if you haven't tried homework yet, feel free to just jump in there and give it a try. Because if you look over here, you get infinitely many tries at it. So any try can just be considered a shot you're taking and trying to get feedback. So just jump in, give it a try. It's given me a prerequisite warning here because it's my second try. For you, this wouldn't happen on your first try. We'll talk about that prerequisite in a moment after we look at a first try. Notice that it is timed. So make a quick note of the time and don't hit start until you're ready to give your full focus and attention to working on the quiz. Once we jump in there, you're going to see that taking a quiz feels an awful lot like doing homework. So there's a couple main differences that I want you to be aware of in the quiz setting. One, if you look up here, it no longer tells you what section of the book the problem that you're working on at the moment comes from. And the other thing is, if you look down here at the bottom, there's no longer help me solve this, and there's no longer, textbook or videos, which sometimes are an option. None of that stuff's going to show up while you're taking a quiz. So I'm just going to do a very bad attempt at this quiz and just randomly pick some stuff here and then jump through some questions just to get some answers done. Not even kind of trying to get them right. I'm just trying to have them completed. And I should take the whole thing. I'm just going to submit right now. It's going to warn me that I'm not done. You should, of course, not guess. You should try and do intelligent answers, and you shouldn't quit after 2 questions. But I just want to show you what happens when you're done with a quiz. I happen to get at least part of one right. So the green checks represent stuff you got right. The X's represent stuff that you got wrong. And X in parentheses means it was marked wrong because you did not do it. But what I want you to see is if I jump back into a question, and it can be a question that I missed or a question that I didn't try, either way, I'm in review mode now. And when I'm in review mode, look, it does show me this was a question from section 1.1, and it does have help me solve this in the textbook and possibly videos to help us through. And again, I can go to a problem I didn't even attempt, and that's still true that it shows me what section it was in, and it has those helps available. So that's important to know because infinitely many quiz tries doesn't do you any good if you're not getting better on subsequent tries. And the main way that you should expect to improve from one quiz to the next is reviewing your mistakes. It will show you what the right answer was with the green star, and if you don't understand how they got that answer, you can use help me solve this to get there. And you should look at every problem you missed or skipped, see what the right answer was, and if you don't understand it, use help me solve this. If you do that, you should expect to have a better result the next try. If you just jump right back in and take the quiz again, you should expect it to go the way it did the first time. Why is it going to get better if you don't do anything to make it better? If you don't review a quiz immediately after you've taken it, you can still click on your gradebook and see it there and click review, and it will open up the same sort of option of clicking on problems and looking at them again. So if you don't have time to review right away, you can do it later. Just make sure you do that review before you take the quiz again. Alright, so I'm talking about this as preparation for Collaborative 1 because we're going to work on Chapter 1 stuff in Collaborative 1. So how am I going to know are you prepared, or what does it take for me to consider you prepared? I don't set the bar very high for that. As long as you score a 50% or higher on the quiz, then I'm going to say, even though you're not an expert yet, you've looked at it and wrestled with it a little bit, and you're ready to work on a collaborative. And that's important for you to keep in mind. I don't expect you to become an expert until you've had a chance to talk to other people about this. So I just want you to wrestle with it and try and get an idea of what's going on, and then we can work on it together during the collaborative sessions, which we'll discuss coming up on this video. So that's one way to do it, is get 50% or higher on a quiz. If you're struggling on the quiz and can't reach that 50% mark, even when you're reviewing and trying again, if you get 75% or higher on the homework, where Help Me Solve This is a tool as you're going. So 75% should be a very reasonable goal there as long as you put in the time. That will also make sure that you're considered prepared for the collaborative and not marked absent for the preparation phase. So that's a good backup plan, the 75% homework, but homework doesn't count in your grade and quizzes do. So you really should be trying to meet the goal through the quiz method. So what happens if you take the quiz and you only get a 40%? So does that mean you're not prepared? No, you have the homework option to get prepared, but you can also take the quiz again. There will be this green flag, so once you've taken a quiz once, before you can take it a second time, you have to score at least 50% on the homework assignment. And the idea there is I don't want you just like kind of spinning your wheels on that quiz. If I don't mind you taking it without trying any homework, and if you get an A on it, good for you that you were able to do that and you were able to skip the homework. But if you get a score you're not happy with, then let's practice before we try it again with at least 50% of the homework. Even though homework is optional, I can tell you that most students find that in order to have a smooth process in the class, they just do the homework first, usually try and do 100% or almost 100% of the homework before they take the quiz, because then they get better scores on the quiz and less tries. I just want there to be this option for people who feel like the homework's a waste of time for them. If you can demonstrate through a quiz you didn't need it, that's completely fine with me. So, this is that kind of homework is semi-required, right? Is it required or is it not required? Well, it's still kind of, because it's required for a second try, but it's not required for the first try. But most people don't do great on their first try with no homework at all. So it's optional, but most people will end up doing it because they need it. But at least then you're making the choice instead of me forcing you to do it. Some other things I want you to be aware of is due dates, which can be a little weird for people at first. The due date for the quiz is always just before my collaborative session that I host, usually about 40 minutes before or so, because I need to make notes about who was prepared and who was not. So I need to close it where I still have time to process that and then get ready for the collaborative. Homework dates are when I think you should have attempted the quiz by. So when the homework due date says 10 p.m. the night before the collaborative, that means I want you to have attempted that quiz by then. And so I use that homework date to flag when I want you to take the quiz by. Why not just set the quiz as a due date then? Well, because that's when I want you to take it the first time. You might need a second or third time to get a good score, and I want you to have some additional time to do that. So the homework tells you when I think you should try it by, and the due date says when it's going to lock and you don't have additional tries anymore before that collaborative. So speaking of these homework due dates, an important thing to know about them is they really are just a marker, and they don't mean much in terms of like, is the homework past due? Yes, once this goes by, the homework is officially past due, but homework's not part of your grade, so that doesn't matter. And I check something in the settings so that you can continue to work on homework even after it's past due. So you don't need to stress over homework due dates, but you should see them as the goal date for when the quiz was supposed to be done by. And there's one other thing about those goal dates that's important. I don't mind people skipping the homework if they don't need it, but I don't like people finding out at the very last minute they don't need it. So if you think you don't need homework, don't wait till the last minute to do your quiz. You have to do it by this homework due date time, because after that time goes by, I will change the setting on this to require 50% or better on the homework, even for first attempts. So you only get the no homework try if you do it at least the night before. You can't wait until that morning of the quiz date. So I know this is a little confusing because some due dates are flexible and some are not, but the quiz due dates are not flexible. Once that time comes, it's going to lock. So don't try and meet your preparedness for the collaborative, 15 minutes after this goes by. It won't let you. So that is the cutoff for when I'm checking to see if people are prepared or not prepared, and so I do lock the quiz at that time. All right, I'm going to talk about the collaborative day now, and I'm going to talk about this from the point of view of an online class where collabs are done on Zoom. If you happen to be taking a hybrid class from me where it's face-to-face, the process is very similar, except for that you don't need to print collaboratives, and I will assign groups in the classroom instead of in Zoom breakout rooms. It's still useful for you to listen to this, but I'm going to talk about it all from the point of an online class. So when it's time for that Zoom collaborative, what you'll want to do is go to the Math 53 page, and I have the Zoom link right here, so that's how you're going to get there. And you can check the assignment calendar right here to see what the date and time is for the Zoom meeting that I'm going to host for the purpose of getting the collaborative done. There are two ways to get the collaboratives done. There's the Zoom meeting I host. There's also going to be student organized Zoom. So I'm going to start off talking about the Zoom that I host. Either way, to be in a collaborative group, you must have demonstrated that you were prepared for the collaborative by that quiz due date. So if you haven't done it at that point, you won't be put in a group. It's not fair to have 4 people working together where 3 have watched all the videos and taken all the quizzes and the other person's done nothing and expects the other 3 to help them. So I'm not going to put you in a collab group if you're not prepared. That's good for you if you're prepared. I'm not throwing somebody who's completely unprepared in there with you. So I think the best option, if you're available, is to join the Zoom session I host, because then I will be able to put you in a group right then. I will be able to drop in, give you feedback, answer questions, and it tends to make it go smoother. So you can find that time on the assignment calendar for your class during your semester. And again, the Zoom link is here for my meeting. If you're going to go to mine, just be aware that I will put the collaborative in this collab folder down here about 10 minutes before I start the Zoom meeting, and that will allow you to go on and download and print that from a PDF viewer so you get a good copy. If you can't print, then make sure you read these directions over here for printing hardship. It's basically you're going to be working on, blank paper or graph paper depending on the thing, but there's some rules about how that's going to work. Most people print the collaborative. I know some people have some trouble. Maybe they don't have a printer. Maybe they out of ink that week. Just make sure you read those directions if you're going to do the collaborative without printing it. All right, so then how is it going to work once we get to that Zoom session? I usually do a few announcements about the upcoming week for everybody, give you some hints on the collaborative, and then I put you into a breakout room with 2 or 3 other prepared students. So you tend to work in a group of 3 or 4, and you should plan on having your camera on so you can actually see the people you're working with, and also more importantly, or also importantly, you need to be able to visually check answers. Math is not something where it's great for somebody to read what they did and somebody else listens. It's good to show it on the camera. So be prepared to visually show people what you did. Now, why are you going to need to be able to show people your work? Why do you care, what they have on their paper? Because I care. I want you to work in a way where you're really trying to help the other people in your group. And the way that I discovered a long time ago to make that happen is I have everybody turn in their completed worksheet, and then I randomly pick one of those worksheets and grade it, and the grade for that one person is the grade for everyone in that group. So do you want a great paper for yourself? Yes, but you want a great paper for all your partners too, because it's just as likely your grade will come from their paper as it is that it will come from your own. So make sure that you're helping people out and that you're looking at their work and you're happy with their work, because that might be what your grade's based on. If you guys get stuck as a group or you have a disagreement, there's a button in Zoom where you can call me in for help and I can answer that question or settle the disagreement. So I'll be around to help, and I think I usually am able to help people clean up their projects and improve their scores. Now, what if the time that I list for my Zoom doesn't work for you? That's okay too. You just still need to prepare by watching the videos and taking the quizzes. But then an additional step that you'll need to take is come down here and click on this share your availability link, and you'll put times during the day after my Zoom session that you're available to work with other people. And then I will go look at that availability link and I will put you together with other prepared people, and I'll send out an email to you with directions about how the process will work. Just a couple quick things that you'll you should know I'm going to expect you to create a Zoom meeting for your group, and I'm going to expect you to invite me to that Zoom meeting so that I have the option to check in and answer questions and give you feedback. Sometimes your time won't work for me and I can't make it. That's okay. As long as you made the Zoom and invited me, you get credit for that part of the process. But I will try and make it as much as possible because I do think it's helpful for people when I stop in and give feedback. I usually catch some errors and make some improvements in their work. If you weren't put in a group for a collaborative because you didn't do the preparation, or at least demonstrate that you did the preparation, or maybe you didn't share your availability, so I couldn't put you in a group because I didn't know what time you were available, you can still do the collaborative by yourself and get half credit for it. You would just print it from the collaborative link, do it on your own, and submit it. As far as submitting goes, just a quick note, those will be submitted on Canvas because my math lab's not great for uploading written work. We'll upload those to Canvas by 11:59 p.m. on the day of the collaborative. So that's true whether you were in my organized Zoom group or you did your own. It still needs to be all wrapped up and submitted by 11:59 p.m. on the day of the collaborative. All right, just a couple more things to wrap up this video. What if you didn't take a quiz by the due date at all? Or what if you did take it, but once you got done working on the collaborative with other students, you felt like you understood it better and could probably improve your score? Well, I usually do open up those quizzes again later to give people a second chance, but I add some prerequisites, and one of the prerequisites is always that you have to have a homework score of 75% or higher in order to reopen that quiz. So if you ever miss a quiz or you want to do better on it, just make sure you get your homework score up to 75%. And then once we get close to exam date, I'll tell you like what other review assignments need to get done in order to reopen the quiz. I never have people do extra other than the homework. They just have to do their normal review stuff for the exam, and then that will reopen the quiz. So get the homework done to 75%. That makes sure that you have the material in your head and you're ready to move on to the next stuff. And then in the future, you'll get a chance to reopen the quiz. As far as future chapters, are they going to be any different from what I just showed you here? There is a little bit of difference, and I'll show you some of that in my math lab. If we look at the second quiz 2A and quiz 2B, they're both due at the same day and time. That's because the second collaborative covers the 2A material and the 2B material. So one thing that's common in future chapters is that there's more than one quiz involved in the preparation loop. And when that's the case, the goal time for the first homework is often a few days before the quiz date is due, because I want you to get one of them done early and then have a couple more days to work on the second chunk. If I'm breaking it up in chunks, it's because I think it's too much to do in one night. So I'm going to spread those due dates out to encourage you to work on them as you go through. So make sure you pay attention to the goal dates to know when you should be working on things by, especially if you want to avoid homework prerequisites. And remember, I'll always send out that announcement that kind of gives a work schedule that's suggested as well. The other thing I just want to leave you with is if there's anything that you're confused about after watching this video or reading through the Canvas announcements, don't wait until our first collaborative meeting to ask those questions or to get help. By doing that, that may mean you didn't get some of the prep done and now you're not eligible to be in a group and don't get a group assignment. So if you're confused about something, don't wait to get help. Try and reach out to me right away. A couple ways you can do that is to see me during Zoom office hours. That's usually the best because we get kind of that live interaction and we can just sort out stuff. I can share screens with you. I can show you where the things are that you can't find and so on. Emails are okay too. But if you're going to send me an email, make sure you're giving a lot of details about where you're stuck. It's very frustrating for me when I get an email that says something like, I'm having a hard time with chapter 1. That's not useful information for me because I don't know if you're having a hard time with the notes, if you're having a hard time with the homework, if you're having a hard time with the quiz. I don't know what section it is, what problem it is. Right, so if you want me to be able to help you through email, you got to give me a lot of details, and we don't want to have to go back and forth a bunch of times in the email to sort it out. So better to give me too many details than not enough. I'm much more likely to help you quickly if you do that. All right, I think that's it. I hope that helps you feel like you can get started. And again, if you feel like you do have questions, feel free to reach out to me through email or during office hours. And I'm looking forward to seeing you when we get to that first collab Zoom. All right, good luck this semester.